Well, hello there. My name is DL. I'm a sales coach for aspiring and scaling women of color coaches. And I also have a podcast called the Black Banked and Booked Out podcast, where I have all of my sales trainings and all of my amazing client success stories. And I also have a brand new free training all about how to make 5 figures or 6 figures in your coaching business. You can head to the description to get your hands on that. In this video, I'm going to talk about everything that I wish I knew about having 6-figure launches and how you cannot make those mistakes either. So over the past 18 months, I've had 9 6-figure launches of all different types of offers, and I've made a lot of different mistakes, and I've also had a lot of success with launching, and I want to share all of it with you today. So I first want to define what is a 6-figure launch. So a 6-figure launch is a really purposeful open and closed period where you're selling an offer. And that 6-figure launch income could either be cash or it could be projected income that you're gonna get from payment plans. So you might be asking yourself, what's required to even have a 6-figure launch? What do I need to do? What does that even look like? And let me tell you, this is what I messed up with initially. I first thought that I could jump from just a few clients to a 6-figure launch super quickly without putting any of these pieces together. So the first thing that you need before you can even think about having a 6-figure launch is proof of concept. You need to have a coaching offer that you're able to sell and you're able to get client results in. So you first gotta be a coach that knows what they're doing. And this doesn't have to take long. You don't need to work with hundreds and hundreds of clients in order to do that. The second thing under your belt is that you need one-on-one coaching, right? I see so many coaches make the very brutal mistake of moving into group too quickly. And hey, I did that as well. I thought it was sexier to launch group. I thought it was easier to launch group. I thought all the big $1 million coaches have groups, so I need one now, even though I'm barely making money. And when you stop launching, and when you stop selling one-on-one coaching and you immediately go into group, you then lose all of those one-on-one coaching skills that will help you launch groups so much faster. So it is so important to make sure that you have the skill of one-on-one coaching first under your belt before you move to group coaching. And then the third thing that you need is before you can have a 6-figure launch, you need to have a 20K launch. And then you need to have a 50K launch. Then you need to have a 75K launch, and then you can have a 100K launch. So many people just want to jump from having a 10K launch, which is super, super exciting, and then think they can have a 6-figure launch. Those little tweaks that, again, it doesn't have to take long to do, but those little tweaks at the 50K launch level and the 75K launch level will impact your ability to have a 6-figure launch and then 150K launch and then even a 200K launch and a 300K launch. So don't forget and don't overlook having a 40K launch, having a 30K launch. You're on your way to having a 6-figure launch so much easier than you think. So let me tell you a little bit about my 6-figure launch history. So I had a $60,000 launch for my program, 5-Figure Freedom, which is my signature sales program where I help women of color coaches make sales so that they can quit their job. And so I had this launch for 5-Figure Freedom and it was $60K. And then we moved to having a 6-figure launch, but that 6-figure launch was a hot mess. Capital H, capital M, hot mess. I was doing live videos, none of my emails were prepared. The launch was so sticky and it was so overwhelming and it was so draining. I was failing over and over and over again when it comes to getting people in the door during my launch. The launch took 4 weeks, which is a really long time in launch land. Like a 4-week launch is a really long time. And so the launch was very draining, it was exhausting. And I just felt like I was trying to prove something. I was trying to prove myself. I wanted to have sexy 6-figure launches like all the other business coaches that I was looking up to. I wanted to prove my status in the coaching industry. And in reality, it didn't mean any of that. It didn't mean any of that. So I hit 6 figures, but by practically killing myself in the process. And I realized that I had to launch differently. I had to show up differently. So there were a couple of different things that I did in order to make my launches smoother, simpler, quicker, and also more converting. So here are some of the things that I did to make launching super easy. And then I'm gonna tell you the results of when I launched the second time and I hit 6 figures and how different it was from start to finish. So the first thing that I did was I planned out the launch. All of my emails were done, all of my social media content was done, all of the behind the scenes, all of it was set up so I can be chill and easygoing during the actual launch. And I was able to think of all of my ideas beforehand without being in the pressure cooker of the open cart during the actual launch. And so people say like planning is just like one of those things that they can't do, and it's actually super structured and super difficult and very masculine. But planning allows you to be more creative, it allows you to have more energy, and allows you to flow so much better during the actual launch. The second thing that I did was I learned how to use my strengths. And so there's so many different styles of launching. You can send only email, you can do a YouTube launch, you can have a podcast, you can send out a whole bunch of testimonial videos, you can do a game, you could do a free challenge, you could do a waitlist. There's lots of different ways to do launches. And inside of my mastermind, Six Figure Liberation, I teach our own unique style of launching and how you can launch with your strengths. So your launch doesn't have to look like everybody else's, but it could be a lot more easier from an energetic standpoint and a converting standpoint when you launch from your strength. So my strength is video, hence the YouTube channel. So my strength is video. I love talking on video. I talk on Instagram stories, I talk on webinars. I'm great on video. So instead of heavily focusing on my emails, even though I did them, I also focused on video. So I had a whole bunch of pre-recorded Instagram stories. I did an amazing high converting webinar, and I also structured all of my launch assets to be surrounded by video. And so once I learned to launch with my strengths, I was more high converting. I had a lot more fun. I wasn't doing tasks that I absolutely dreaded or hated, and the energy of the launch was just so much lighter. The third thing that I did was I also changed things that weren't working. So when you're typically in a launch, you have a little bit of a lull period, right? Where you open the cart, it's super exciting, lots of people join, and then it starts to go down minute by minute by minute, right? And so during that lull period, my emails necessarily weren't picking up. My video was working, but it started to dwindle down a little bit. But because I had everything planned and because I was launching with my strengths, I then was able to get creative to change things that weren't working. So I did a Is This For Me call, which is a group sales call and something that I teach inside of Six Figure Liberation Mastermind. And that was able to capture people's questions about is the program for them? And then they were able to join so much more confidently. And so I had about 8 people on that Is This For Me call, and all 8 converted. All 8 people said yes. And I think to myself all the time, imagine if I didn't think about that idea. Imagine if I didn't try something out of the box. Imagine if I, wasn't creative, or I didn't have things planned so I could think strategically in this way. And so when you have things planned, when you're launching with your strengths, you're also able to be so much more creative. The fourth thing I really realized too is you can't launch without your clients. People are gonna wanna see your clients front and center. They're gonna wanna know, who did she work with in the past? What results did they get? Are those people like me? And so I always make sure to share my clients' results front and center. And not just 1 or 2 token clients, but all different styles of people and how all of them have gotten a myriad of results and have been impacted by the program. You need your clients' testimonials, results, and their impact of your program to be in your launches as well. So with all these different things, right, we're speaking really strategically. We're speaking about lots of different how-tos. But I just want to pause and say too, and one of the biggest things that blows people's minds is that I didn't have a content calendar with any of this. My content was planned, everything was organized, but it's necessarily I didn't have a list of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna say this. So the 5th thing is creating a movement over having really strict content calendars. So I know we've been talking a lot of strategy, right? We're talking about having things planned and being creative and adding things in. And you're only able to have a plan, to be creative, and everything be consistent and also high converting when you build your movement. Your movement is what actually is the result and the change you wish to see in the industry. When we drop the numbers, when we drop, the income goals, when we drop the business part of having a coaching business, what is the transformation that your coaching is doing? For me, my movement is emancipation. I want women of color to always feel emancipated. I don't want any financial limits on women of color. So that movement for me, emancipation, precedes all other things on open rates for my emails and likes on social media and having all my content pillars ready. That doesn't matter as much as I'm connected to my greater movement. So when you have a really strong movement, people can feel that, right? People can feel that, and people always want to be led, and they want to go with people. They want to buy into programs that have a strong movement to them. So let me give you an example. You can hire, Becky on Instagram who's going to teach you how to convert on Instagram, right? Or you can hire a coach that is connected to your values, that's connected and has a similar mission to you, and is connected to a greater movement. They both can do the same thing, but the movement maker is going to get the one that has the sale. Another thing when it comes to having a movement is you want to be able to strategically lead people together. And so when you're in a launch, you need everybody to get on board about your offer, about the change that you're making, and about what you're doing in your coaching program quickly. And so when you have a movement, you're able to get everyone on the same page, your community, your audience, your email subscribers, your podcast listeners, you're able to get everybody on the same page quickly so that you can execute your movement. Idea number 6 is Disney World, something that I call Disney World. Now, Disney World is my pre-launch strategy that I've been teaching for years, and is the difference in so many six-figure launches. And so when you are launching, you want your launches to feel like Disney World. You want people to gather up on the gates of the amusement park. You want people to have so much excitement about what you're doing. You want people to feel confident, like, okay, when I get in that park, I'm going on this ride, I'm going on this ride, I'm gonna have so much fun. People line up at the door. You want your launches to feel that way. You want people lined up at the gate. So as soon as you hit, all right, we're open for enrollment, people rush in. And so your pre-launch strategy is actually more important than your open cart strategy. Yep, I said it. Your pre-launch strategy, what happens before you open the doors for your launch, is more important than your launch strategy once the cart is open. And so you want to make sure your launches feel like Disney World. So with all of these different strategies, I was able to go from that hot mess of a really hustly, desperate, begging six-figure launch. I still hit it, right? I still hit a six-figure launch. I was able to go from that to a really simple 10-day high converting six-figure launch that didn't just do 6 figures, but it did $125,000. And ever since that experience, I've had consistent 7-day six-figure launches. So lots of people call me the launch queen. I've seen it all when it comes to launching, and I want to make sure that you know how to execute your launches moving forward. So make sure you download my free training in the description, and also make sure you get on the waitlist for my program, Six Figure Liberation, so that you can become an expert at launching.